We'll be taking care of PV every day. Taking care of PV everywhere. We've been taking care of PV. It's all ours. Taking care of PV and investing in our town, PV. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. We'll be taking care of PV.
Well, welcome to another episode of PV in Focus. This is our 12th episode, and so we are so glad to have you tune in, whether you are watching the video cast or our podcast. Thank you. We are very excited to have you, and today we've got a very exciting guest that we're going to be interviewing and learning a little bit more about, and hopefully sharing some great information for our community. And so, Traci, tell us a little bit about yourself. This is Traci Lira. She's with our Neighborhood Services. She's our new director. But tell us a little bit about your background. How long have you been part of the team PV? And then I want to talk a little bit about what is Neighborhood Services, because some of our listeners and viewers may not know exactly what that is.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Prescott Valley. I actually went to high school here. I'm a Bradshaw Bear fan, so woohoo, Bears.
Native Prescott Valley, Prescottonian.
Yes. So very excited to have grown up here, and I went to NAU for college. I got my business degree in business administration. And then when I joined the work world, I ended up somewhere in government. I worked for the state for the last 12 years in child care administration. And in my role there, I did progressively more leadership roles there. But I oversaw the certification programs that went into homes for child care safety. And then later on, I did grant programs. And I was the federal liaison for the state to communicate with the feds for our main program.
So a lot of service in government, certainly at the state level. There's a lot of responsibility and really helping people, constituents, and whether obviously at the state level you've many people that live in our great state, really trying to help them and improve programs and services that we provide to
Absolutely.
residents.
Just ran several grants for childcare providers and scholarships for families who needed care.
So what caught your attention when this was the opportunity to come and join the town and be a part of Neighborhood Services?
Really, with the town, the opportunity to make a difference locally was what caught my eye. Working at the state is great, but I didn't see a lot of my work in my community. And so having that opportunity to really make an impact here locally where I live, where I raise my family, really just caught my interest. The focus on housing and being able to make some movement there and working with the federal government on how we can help bring those funds here, it felt like right at my alley.
Nice. Well, tell us about Neighborhood Services, because it's a pretty new department in the grand scheme of things. And so what are the different divisions and kind of what's your vision and the mission of the department?
Yeah, Neighborhood Services started October 23, so only a couple years now. We have our animal services team, we have our code compliance team, housing services, and community engagement. So a lot of opportunity just to make an impact here in town. Really want to make sure that the community knows why we're here. We're here to serve them.
Nice.
So, and educating them along the way.
So with anyone, again, listening, if you've got, if there's issues of concern or even, it could be ideas for opportunities for improvement, but if there's areas of concern that a resident has in their neighborhood, you would be a great department to start with. And it may not always involve you. It may involve police department, it may involve development services, but Neighborhood Services could always be a good starting point for any resident that is, wanting to address something or at least start how do I, fix something in my neighborhood?
Yeah, please reach out to us. That way we could provide resources, but we can also put you in touch with the right department if we're not the right fit. But we really want to be that first contact agency for our neighborhoods.
And you do coordinate with police department because some issues do involve, it may have a detrimental impact on a neighborhood if there's a home that is, having parties and, tons of cars parking all over the place. So it may be things that you guys can address in neighborhood services, but also partnering with police department to try to have a coordinated
Yeah,
effort.
we find there's a lot of crossover with our department, so we work really closely with all of the departments, and so a lot of time is a partnership. It takes all of us to go out there and help make the issues right.
Good. Well, it is a service for our residents, and we hope that people take advantage of it. So you rolled out a new program this past year with our bulk trash. And historically, for anyone that's lived in PV for a long time, there was one day a year that everyone had to load up their vehicle or their truck and take it to one site in the community. And so we've changed that. Tell us about what the new program is.
Yeah, we offer a voucher now. So if you're interested in taking advantage of it, you just sign up online. It's a real quick form, and we'll either mail you the voucher or you can come in and get it. But then you just take your trash when it's convenient for you. So you don't have to wait in any long lines. You just go during their business hours at the dump and drop off your trash.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And what's the cost of that? What does it cost a resident to get this voucher?
Nothing. So
Nothing.
there is no cost for our residents to get this voucher. It is ran in the spring, so we do expect to see this program up again.
Part of spring cleaning?
Yes, spring cleaning, yep.
Okay.
So we expect to see this voucher again around February next year, and we hope to carry it through the end of June.
Excellent.
So it will be an excellent program. Again, go when you want, no cost for you, and it allows you to help clean up.
Well, it is a great program, and certainly giving people more flexibility. I always found it difficult when it's just a Saturday that got picked, and then if you weren't in town or you had other things that you had to deal with, you weren't able to get your trash out there. And it's really important that we do remove trash. It builds up over time, and this is a great way to help residents do it at a no cost to them. There is a cost, but no cost directly to the resident.
Okay.
So tell us, we often hear that, what do I do with hazardous waste? Because, and I suspect people sometimes put it into the trash flow stream and that they shouldn't. So we're talking like chemicals, paints, those types of things. What are we doing on that front?
Well, we're launching a brand new program. We're really excited about it. So it's our household hazardous waste program. It is a pilot. We're just going to try it out this year to see how it goes. Where, again, you sign up online. So you want to go to our website to sign up. And that will be all through the month of October. You sign up. Once we have that full list of homes, you'll be able to put your hazardous waste outside of your home, and we'll have a company come by to pick it up in the month of November. We'll schedule a date, so once you sign up, we'll send you an email with that date of your pickup. You just want to label it in a box, labeled HHW, Household Hazardous Waste. You'll want to put your pesticides, maybe pool chemicals, batteries, paint.
All those things that we
kinds of those
shouldn't be
chemicals.
putting into landfills.
Exactly.
Right.
All of that should not go in your regular trash. So make sure to save it for this box, this sign up. And then they'll come by, they'll pick it up, and they'll remove it. If this program is successful, we really hope to launch it year over year.
Well, this is really exciting. I know we've gotten so much feedback from residents, just they want to properly dispose of this type of waste, and they don't know where to do it. And so this is going to be a really awesome pilot project, and hopefully we're able to continue it well into the future.
Right.
And again, what's the cost to a resident?
Nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But go to the Neighborhood Services website and be able to get the information on that. So excellent. We also, you mentioned one of the divisions of Neighborhood Services is Animal Services, and tell us a little bit about that. Because they have a new name that we're really using and wanting to embrace, but a new look.
Yes. Hopefully you saw our video, our rebrand look earlier this month, but they are now in a navy blue top, navy blue vest. They do call themselves Animal Services because they really are providing services to help you with your animals, keep animals safe.
It was animal control,
It
which
was.
sounds like control and oversight, government, yeah. So
Exactly.
this is a nicer
This is a
ring
much
to it.
friendlier look. We have brand new badges, or patches on their sleeves, so we're really excited. In fact, it was inspired by one of their own animals. So check them out if you see them up close. Ask to see their patch because it's really cool. But they just look sharp. They look nice and approachable. And that's what they are. They really are a great team, approachable out there just to help you and educate you about your animals.
We want the public calling us. So if there's questions about whether it's animals or anything with neighborhood services, we welcome it. And so this is really exciting. And they do an amazing job. They're highly talented. We've done an episode on animal services. And so the new look is, I think it really defines them in a whole new way. You also rolled out a new system for licensing for pets. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. DocuPet is our new licensing partner. It allows residents to go right online to their website and they can order it right through their account. Not only that, but if they're not comfortable online, you can come into our neighborhood services offices and it allows us to actually provide you your licensing. So we're really excited that we have that option now and you don't have to send your checks to Texas anymore.
Nice. Outside of being, the town manager, which is kind of an all-time job, but I was laying on the couch watching TV and I got a notice that my pet's license was due, and I just continued laying there and I just clicked on it, and within a minute I had the license all completed. It was so easy, so smooth, and I know we mentioned this on a previous PV in Focus podcast, but I think it's really important that we have animals, dogs licensed, and especially with the rabies shot. It's really important for the community. So
I agree. And just to touch on that, right now there is more rabies concerns locally. We have started to see animals show up in Yavapai County with rabies, so it's just even more important for you to get your animals with their...
Dogs can be bit by wild animals, skunks, other things that can be a carrier of rabies.
Yep, so get your dog vaccinated and then licensed.
Well, and then we're talking, I feel like this whole episode is about rolling out new things. It's like new. You have another great service that you're going to be rolling out in a pilot, and it's a spay and neuter program, which we've never had before. Tell us about this. What will this entail?
Yeah, so we're hoping to roll out this program where residents, if they're needing to get their animals spayed, they can apply online. And they do have to qualify income-wise. Again, it's just a pilot, so we're testing it out. Low to moderate income, so we'll base it off of some charts out there. But once they apply, they'll be able to take their animal to Chino Valley Animal Hospital, who has partnered with us to do these spays and neuters. They also will do vaccinations and microchipping, so it's a great partnership, and we're just excited to try it out. So
that is excellent, and I think the cost of a spay and neuter procedure it can be prohibitive for many people, and so us trying to help those that are most need versus just ignore the issue and have a bunch of unwanted either dogs or cats or whatever it may be. So thank you. That's we're excited to see how that turns out. So the last thing I wanted to kind of wrap up with on neighborhood services, we could probably talk for a long time, but I don't know if everyone would keep tuning in with that. But your department is also about, how do we go back into neighborhoods and just try to help with cleanup events and opportunities. And I know we've not launched anything specific on that, but what's your vision for the future of that, of neighborhood services being able to go into a older neighborhood, and maybe it's a neighborhood where there's senior citizens or someone that may have a disability and they can't physically clean up their yard or whatnot.
Yeah.
What's the vision there for neighborhood services?
We really are trying to tackle those problems. So we want to start more partnerships with our neighborhoods and create more events where we can maybe bring out dumpsters. We have a toolbox that we can bring out with a bunch of tools, weed eaters, lawn mowers, and we can actually bring it right to your neighborhood. So that's something that we're still working on developing, but we love to be able to offer those services. In addition, we're working with different volunteer groups. So if you're interested in volunteering, we can always use them, but to provide these services and help where people are unable to. And so we've had some great partnerships with different churches and organizations in the community, and we're excited to move that forward.
Well, this is very exciting. Traci, thank you so much for joining me today and just sharing with everyone that tunes in. And for those that are tuning in, and if you are new, we, like everything in life with social media, we love likes. So like us and subscribe. We would love to be able to grow, those that are able to tune in and learn more about the town of Prescott Valley and all of our great services that we have taking place. And really appreciate the work and your entire team do. And I'm very excited about, as you keep evolving that department and what it's going to do to help support our community. Thank you for tuning in today.
We'll be taking care of PV.